Hello and welcome to SHRP Talk, the show by washed-up athletes for washed-up athletes looking to be their best self. On today's episode, Jaden and I spent the beginning of the episode just catching up and then get into a little longer conversation just talking about AI, artificial intelligence, as well as ChatGPT, our thoughts on it, how we use it in our careers, as well as how we use it personally. Talk about how it's influenced our approach to nutrition and supplementation, as well as our approach to working out, lifestyle, spiritual health, all sorts of different stuff. I'm just talking about the many benefits of it, how we personally like to use it, some specific prompts that we've used to upgrade our life, as well as some of the dangers of it and things to be cautious of and how we see it evolving over the future. But overall, definitely a tool that can be used to upgrade your life in many different ways. But yeah, just seeing it as a tool and not a replacement of everything. So if you're not using it or not sure how to use it or haven't used it for upgrading your health specifically, definitely could be a helpful episode for you, and just giving you some prompt examples and just figuring out how to use it with more detail and how to get more accurate answers and answers that suit your needs, your lifestyle, your goals. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoy. Before we get rolling with today's episode, I want to take a minute to tell you about SHRP Training. Snyder Health, Recovery, and Performance Training is designed for former athletes to improve their physical, mental, and spiritual health. For only $12 a month, you can choose a training plan that is catered to your needs, interests, and goals, with new programs delivered each month through the TeamBuilder app. You'll also receive 24/7 messaging and feedback from coaches, access to an exclusive Discord to continually learn and be encouraged by others, a 20% discount on Thorne supplements, and access to the SHRP Edge, the ultimate guide to upgrading your diet, sleep, and life. Iron sharpens iron, so let us help you become your sharpest self. Now let's go.
Yeah, I was getting some lateral kettlebell swings in to try and hit it over 350.
I love that.
Get powerful. Been watching a lot of TPI on YouTube. I love his stuff. He just did one with Greg Rose is the guy. He's like the PT or the founder. Okay. They do it at Titleist, and he's done like Wyndham Clark, and he just did Joel Damon, and he does like force plate stuff and a lot of 3D tracker stuff. It's really cool. Cool to nerd out over golf stats and data.
Yeah. How much of the golf stuff have you done in your, is it clinical?
Yeah, not a lot. I think
Dang it.
It's a little slower in that department, but seen a good amount of athletes, some NFL, a lot of college athletes in the area. Good variety.
Are you taking any yourself or more so helping out, or what does that look like?
We kind of go more and more on our own as we go. So I'm probably doing like 3 or 4 patients a day out of 12 right now. Then it'll probably build up to 5 or 6 and keep going up from there, and then full caseload probably at the end. So
any interesting injuries or conditions you've seen?
Yeah, there's a lot of unique, like there's some unique like foot and ankle, like 1 of 2 ever done surgeries, like tibial osteotomy, just weird stuff where like you'll see it in the more of like the high level athletes. They'll try something that they haven't necessarily done a lot before. Then there's some newer like ACL procedures where they just like use the IT band for more protection or do something different. There's like an Oates procedure that's pretty new, where they're trying to like grow cartilage back into the bone. It's kind of interesting. There's some definitely more interesting like post-surgical unique cases. But then you have your classical knee replacements, hip replacements, stuff like that are pretty easy to treat, but pretty painful for the patient early on, and just trying to get strength and range of motion back, but good variety.
Yeah. There's not a specific like niche of people. It's more a little bit everyone. Or is it more like athlete?
They try to cater to athletes, I think, but it's hard to be exclusively athletes in a city like that. I think if you were in like a Scottsdale area or a wealthier area, you could kind of specialize and cater to more of a certain population, like a golf population or an athlete population. But in Cedar Rapids, it's hard because you wouldn't get enough people, I don't think, to keep it running. But yeah, I would say majority is athletic or active population, so that's good. I've seen clinics where it's 80 to 85% Medicare, and it's a lot of post-surgical stuff and low back pain. So that's not the most exciting to treat, but
yeah, sure, still rewarding quite a bit, but
it is. And there's definitely
quite as fun.
There's people that love that, like eat that stuff up, and it's all what interests you and what you're passionate about treating, because you can't treat everybody, and you might as well do something you love. So just got to figure out what that is in the next 6 months, narrow it down. But yeah,
It's cool, man. Cool. Do you use a lot of AI in your role yet, or how do you see that affecting your career as that comes more prevalent?
Personally, I don't, just because they kind of don't let me either. There's newer AI stuff with documentation where you can kind of record a session while you're talking to a patient and do all the measurements and objective stuff, and then it'll like hear what goes on in the session and write the note for you. So that helps on like the documentation side. And some therapists I've seen do that, and it saves them time outside of work and documenting, which is really cool. I use it a decent amount in like my personal life just for time saving stuff and create ideas, but I don't know if I necessarily use it a lot for like the PT aspect. I use it to find like research articles. There's a consensus AI where you can like search a certain topic of something you're interested in or something you want to dive deeper into. And it gives a bunch of like research articles related to that. And it'll give like kind of a consensus like spiel based on like the top 10 articles that come up. And so that's pretty cool. Because I've been having to do like assignments, whether it's like clinical patterns where you have two diagnoses and you're trying to differentiate between the similarities in the two. And it's helpful for stuff like that, or like a clinical question where it's just like, what is this injury? What is the surgery? What does the outlook look like? And what's like the time frame to come back? So it's helpful for a lot of that kind of stuff. But as far as like treating a patient in the clinic, I'd say it's a lot more like personalized and personable based on how they're feeling and what they're looking like, because it's hard for AI to like see the patient or know what is going on. But there's definitely an avenue for it. I think it'll continue to grow. But there's like some professions that are like scared AI is going to take over, but I just can't see that with PT. It's too personalized. And
I've thought about that for coaching too. Like maybe some like programming could get replaced, but I feel like it's more of a tool. Like especially, I guess it'd have to be pretty advanced, but like if you give, let's just say like an injury history, anthropometrics, goals, equipment and availability, stuff like that, like eventually over time, I feel like it could spit out a pretty decent program. But yeah, like service industry stuff, there's definitely a human element that I don't foresee being fully replaced, but still pretty early into it, so we have no idea what it's going to look like. But yeah, definitely for more monotonous stuff like documentation or stuff that is like time consuming, I feel like, yeah, it's crazy to not take advantage of it now. Like it's just so helpful in that area. So I can definitely see it that way, but it'd be cool even to like let's just say like as you're working with more and more patients, like obviously everyone is different, but let's just say like you keep track of symptoms and what worked, what didn't work, and you just keep a library over time. It's like, okay, you see someone new, here's what they're dealing with, and then give me some places to start at least, or some things to try out. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel, yeah, I mean, never a replacement, but I feel like it's a tool, if nothing else, just to make you better at what you're doing. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially in the like career wise, how it like where it totally replaces, where it supplements, and where maybe it's not totally relevant. But
How has TeamBuilder implemented any like AI software
um,
updates or anything like that?
we added athlete added workouts pretty recently. So like if any athletes are doing extra work, there's kind of like an AI workout builder that can help with that. And there's a lot of other stuff we've talked about, like programming wise and stuff, but still pretty early into that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the similar, like day to day stuff, I mean, like even for me, like if I'm trying to figure out how to kindly give someone bad news, whether it's like a price increase or can't give a discount or like they're dealing with a bug or whatever, like it's so helpful to just, hey, here's what's going on, just like give a bunch of detail, and like how do I break this in a kind way, and then it'll kind of give a generic response. And I don't think it should ever be like give me an answer and then just copy and paste straight over. I think again it should be a lot of back and forth and tweaking it to make your own. And so I've used it a ton that way to still kind of keep my voice and writing style, but also just like point out maybe things that I'm missing or haven't thought through. So been really helpful in that way. But I mean, a lot of, yeah, day to day stuff that's more monotonous as well. Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, like different processes. Like we have, I don't know if you know what Notion is, but basically a library of like, here's how to do this, or like billing process or whatever. And like there's I think it's Claude is the chatbot with that. And so instead of looking through a full library, it's like, hey, do we do this, or how do I do this? And so nothing super crazy yet, but yeah, just a lot of the, again, like a more of a tool stuff just to make your job a little easier. And yeah, definitely I've been thinking about more is just figuring out in my own day to day, obviously being smart with it, but how I can use it to make my life easier and better at my job. But it's kind of career wise, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you definitely get in trouble when you use it to generate ideas or do stuff, like have it create it for you. I feel like that's where people get into trouble. But when you like bounce ideas off and have it modify and sharpen what you're already thinking, then you still generate your own ideas and you still use what you believe and what you created, but you just modify that in a way that, yeah, it takes the time out of having to, whether that's edit or revise or truly think about the best way to go about it. Because it's kind of just a way to brainstorm. Like you spit it in, it gives you something, you say, oh, I don't like this, or change this, or make it more concise or something like that. And it's just so quick with it. It's
yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah, even like the audio side, like I've been doing that more like if I'm already doing something or like out for a walk and don't want to type, like there's an audio function and just think out loud and brainstorm about something. Like even before this, I was like, hey, this is what we're doing a podcast on. Like give me some different outlines and thoughts with it. And so yeah, it's crazy. It's yeah, it's such a time saver and tool in so many ways. And yeah, just way to think out loud and like journal kind of in a way, whatever.
mm-hmm.
I mean, whether it's health related or personal life related, just kind of a voice back to you, give you some direction or like ask good questions. So I think it's all about how you prompt it, and again, not taking that like first answer. Like I don't know about you, but like social media gets used. I use it a lot for like social media stuff, but you can kind of tell when captions are just straight up AI generated,
Right.
like a bunch of emojis and that little hyphen that's always in there. So I think it's the same thing, just like again, kind of use it as like a starting point or something to modify what you already have, but not just taking a copy and paste or even like trusting that it's accurate right away. Cause there's been times where it's straight up been wrong. Like
Right.
I think it's still growing in that area. Like it's not perfect and always up to date, but so being careful with that, obviously. But yeah, just a good sounding board, good journal.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
And even like I've used it for like meal planning is so easy. Like just throwing in ingredients and being like, what's the right ratios to make a given amount of this, and it's so easy just to like nobody knows like what ratio like goes with what, and you'd have to look at a bunch of recipes and compare because like the odds that you find a recipe that uses the exact ingredients that you want is probably rare,
mm-hmm.
and so then you have to trial and error and all that. But yeah, I found it really helpful for meal planning and meal prepping and stuff like that. It's been a huge time saver in that aspect, but it's honestly like the amount of things that you can do to just plan in your own life is kind of limitless. So it's just a time saver.
Yeah. Honestly, like nutrition and supplements probably been the area where I've used it most as I've gotten more like whole foods based and all that good stuff. Like obviously you gave me a lot of good stuff right away and then and like explained it well, but then like I like to know why I'm eating what I'm eating as well. So like
Mm-hmm.
if I forget like, hey, why am I drinking kefir instead of milk, or like what even is kefir? Like it can give me something with that. And then even just I mean, you can get really general with it right away. So I would start with like, okay, here's kind of my protein goal, and I want to have a more whole foods diet. And then I'll also include something like a whole foods diet that like Casey Means, Andrew Huberman would approve of, and it can like pull stuff from what they've
Mm-hmm.
said in the past. And so that's been helpful too. And so it kind of like take what I used to eat or like foods I like, and then has given me like an outline of like foods to try, as well as like even like a shopping list and where to shop, and yeah, so like aligning with protein goals, and then also I think we talked about this before, but figuring out like micronutrient deficiencies, because like
Mm-hmm.
macro is pretty dialed, but it can be hard to keep track of micros. Like obviously there's great apps for it. Like I know use Chronometer.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, that's a good one. But it's just like more fluid. Like it has my diet memorized, because like that's the other thing too. Like it can remember past conversations, not all the time, but like if you tell it to remember, like, hey, this is what I eat most of the time. Like, please remember this. And then it's like, yeah, if you need, like, what am I missing with this? What do I need to add in? How can this be better to fit with my goals, like training wise and health wise? And so it's been really, yeah, useful in that area. And even like supplements too. Again, maybe not always up to date, but just like figuring out dosages or why am I taking this? Again, it's like we sometimes forget why we're doing what we do. So it's like,
Right.
hey, can you remind me what alpha GPC exactly does, and like, is there things I need to look out for?
Mm-hmm.
So nutrition and like health wise overall, it's been very helpful in getting that stuff figured out. But there we go. What was I gonna ask? Oh, do you use it for like training at all? Like working out, like any sort of programs or anything like that?
I don't currently. I feel like I have, um, especially for like certain running information, like training zones, or whether I want more information on training styles of different runners. But I don't necessarily use it for lifting. My lifting's kind of unique. I kind of go off the cuff and do what my body's feeling. And it's usually a wide variety of different things for probably a little less sets than the normal. I'd probably say around 1 or 2 sets for almost everything and get close to failure. But I would say I use it more in the nutrition aspect and like the research PT aspect. I use it a lot for like I'll find articles with consensus and then use chat to summarize and dive deeper into certain aspects of a given article, but I don't necessarily use it to program necessarily. Um, yeah. Do you use it at all?
Not from programming side. Maybe for like areas I'm not as strong in, like maybe like cardio stuff, but not actual programs. Maybe more like recovery timeline stuff. But yeah, nothing really with the actual workouts too much. Um, I did a fair amount with the fast, like figuring out
Right.
how I can still train through that. And it's like you probably shouldn't be training every day, but I'm like, I don't care. So like telling it like I'm gonna train every day, and then like how can I still be smart with this and modify with this in a way
Right.
that works out. So I mean, a lot of that too was listening to the body, but at least going into it, I was more confident that I could still do it and like not worry about like getting hurt or doing too much or whatever. So I feel like it's a big help in that area. And I feel like even just prepping for that, I feel like was a big help, like figuring out how to get ready and what I could use during it to not break it. Like I wasn't sure on if I could use creatine throughout it. And so it just gave me rationale why it would still be good, why it doesn't take you out of fasting state and all that good stuff. And like I have magnesium supplements, and I didn't even think about going into it. Like it kind of contains like rice flour and has like minimal calorie, and it still shows up as zero, but they can mark
Right.
it as zero even if it's
Like under
technically still
5 or
has some
something.
calories. So just to be safe, I got a little different magnesium supplement that was like pure form. It also tasted like death, which was is have you ever had bulk supplements anything?
I don't think so.
It's like it's cheap because it's like pure form, like nothing added to it, even like flavoring, and
Just terrible.
apparently magnesium is not good in its natural form. It was the same as those essential amino acids that I used to take, like how I used to always use fruit snacks, like just taste like death. But man, they were affordable. But yeah, I mean, just figuring that out, and then like breaking the fast too. It was so helpful. Like I said, it had my diet memorized, so it was like,
Hmm.
how many days do I need to take to get back to normal, and like right away it recommended something like, or like even in Lewis's book, like bunch of vegetables and like fruit juices and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. So help me figure this out with what works with my diet. And yeah, give me like 6 day plans. Like, do you want to put this in PDF form? I was like, heck yeah. It's like, again, you gotta double check stuff, especially if it's something like ever like medications or something that's a little more borderline.
Right.
Probably need to double check and verify that. But I feel like I had read enough on other sources that I was pretty confident with it. And so helpful. And yeah, it's like almost like a mentor in a way. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, again, just like a sounding board of just give it an ideas like, is this possible? Or like, how can I make this work for my situation? And
Right.
I think, figuring out how to prompt it too is a big deal. Like giving as much detail as possible. Like not just a standard Google search, but like,
Right.
here's my background, here's my age, here's my goals, here's what I like to eat, here's how I like to train. Like as much detail as you can. I feel like you'll get better answers and doing it back and forth. So yeah, it's freaking helpful, man.
Are you all Chat GPT or do you use different AIs or what's your go-to?
I think I've tried Claude before, but no, I usually just do ChatGPT, the app on my phone, or I'll have like a browser tab. Like again, if I ever need to figure out again like a response to an email or
Right.
a caption for something or
Right.
an idea for a social media post, something like that. So I, yeah, hopefully it stays on like a free-ish plan. I'm curious how that will evolve over time and if there'll be more paid stuff or if it'll like be more limits on a free plan. But have you tried any others?
Just the consensus one. Yeah, I don't think any others, but it's been pretty useful. I don't know what
Yeah.
the differences necessarily are. I'm guessing they're all kind of tried and true compared against themselves and corrected over and over again in some sort of algorithm. But I don't know. It's interesting because you always get like if you use it for a PDF or you insert a PDF, then you don't get like the free version anymore, and then you get a lesser version. So, but I don't know the
Mm-hmm.
difference between the two. So it's like I don't know what is actually going on behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's really cool too from we've talked about like blood testing or like DNA testing, but just like in areas like that, just being able to give you specific like interventions, to, like here's the information and here's what you need to do to get this resolved. Because I mean, think of how complex DNA is, and I mean, humans could probably figure it out, but it would take a lot more time, and it wouldn't be like continually updated. Whereas using something like that, like it can process information so quickly. Like if you ever upload a file, like it can read it insanely fast or like generate an image. So yeah, it's super helpful in that area too. But it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you used it in like spiritual health in any way, like journaling or devotional or anything like that?
I I don't think I've gotten into that side quite yet, but it sounds like an avenue that I definitely should go down. I feel like I've never even really thought about to use it as a journal or like a voice memo type thing, and it sounds kind of interesting to me. So I might look into it. But no, I don't think I have. Have you?
I've started to a fair amount. I mean, I've heard like a few podcasts talk about it, and um, I mean, it's cool in the sense, like I said, it can read like huge files, and you think of, okay, it has the whole Bible memorized in all these different formats. So, like, hey, I need to look into scripture about this specific topic, or what's the historical context of this book of the Bible, or something like that. So, I think with Bible reading, it can be a good way to break stuff down like that. Um, I think also, yeah, using it as like a sounding board, like for ideas, like figure out. Trying to think of an example, like here's where my gifts are. How can I use them appropriately? Or here's what I'm struggling with. How can I be better in this area? And again, it should be a tool. I don't think it should ever be a replacement as like using it as like the voice of God. Like there's
Right.
some stuff that should probably just be prayed about and getting discernment that way. But I think, yeah, just a place to help you process your thoughts a little bit more. I used it. We had at Embrace, like Adam challenged us to figure out, like, compare our lives with the life of Jesus and figure out where it's similar and where it's different. So I plugged that into ChatGPT. I was like, hey, we got this challenge, and so I need you to help me figure out, like, how Jesus lived and what does my life look like, and compare the difference between the two. And it gave me like a 7-step exercise of like, trying to think. I think I still have it pulled up. So like, his faith and spiritual disciplines, and his relationships, and his purpose and mission, character and virtue, the use of his time, service and sacrifice, emotional life and responses, and then obedience and surrender to God. So like 8 different topics. And that's like, here's what Jesus looked like in these areas. Now tell me what you do. Where does it look similar? Where does it look different? And then it gave like action steps of how you can improve in these areas. So, I mean, I probably took like a half hour to hour to do that. And again, it was like a lot of back and forth, but that was really helpful in a lot of ways because, again, it was pulling straight from scripture, those things. So it's not just making it up. It's pulling from like the Gospels, and I think it was really helpful in that way. So, I mean, just doing exercises like that, again, just as a sounding board, and just if you don't have someone to dialogue with, just a place to get more dialogue and put your thoughts on, not paper, but write your thoughts down and get something back. So,
right,
just a few examples.
Have you seen any of the Wes Huff is his name? He's been on like Joe Rogan, and that dude's like a walking AI. He's so smart.
Oh,
the way he recites all the historical stuff, it's crazy.
Yeah. He was on another podcast.
Another comedian. Schultz.
Yep. Listen to that. Like it was kind of cool because they were guys who weren't Christians, or like a lot of guys not like surface level knowledge.
Right.
And so they were asking questions that like anyone would have questions on about like basic stuff, like why this, why that. And it's like, yeah, being able to pull from scripture like that, or like the historical context too. I think that's really cool. That's something I've been trying to get into more, is like, just trying to understand the historical context around stuff. Like I'm in Isaiah right now, and so that was like 600 to 800 BC, like learning more about that era and like what prophecies were predicted, and like what came true, like actually came true, like Babylon taking over and cities getting conquered and stuff like that. And so it's cool to, like, the Bible can be hard to read sometimes, and I think it makes it more digestible if you like understand what a specific verse is referencing or what's actually going on in the world at that time. So I think, again, that's where ChatGPT can be helpful. But yeah, being able to pull like that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's good, man. I like listening to him. He was on Rogan and Schultz. So yeah, if anyone wants a good podcast to listen to, those are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any like other example prompts, like for anything that you've used that you found helpful, like nutrition or just anything with life? I got so many. Trying to see if there's any good ones.
Let's look at my chat.
Oh, I did one for, we were talking about like recipes. I did one for like ground beef, like what are some seasonings and stuff or ideas I can use to make it taste better while still being like whole foods based. They gave me some good stuff with that.
Yeah, I've done the seasoning ratios too.
I use it for DFS a fair amount. So like I kind of used to always do the same strategy each week, but now I give it like, hey, here's a specific tournament. Here's how many guys are in the field. Here's how many make the cut. Here's what my goal is. And then like, what should my max exposure be to a golfer, or what odds should I use? So get a little more strategic with that. Definitely didn't work this week.
Yeah, that was
freaking Rory
shot almost 80. Crazy.
but he was struggling.
Quadruple.
Yeah.
Did you see the highlight of
us.
that shot? He was like 130 out and he hit it like 160. And the patrons were looking at the green and the ball was like soaring over their heads. They didn't even know where it was. They were
Oh, I
all
didn't think I
looking
saw
at the
that.
green. That was crazy.
I
I
saw
don't know if he bladed it or what, but
I saw his par 3 water ball when he was already like 7 over at that time. It's like that was the first cut he's missed in a non-major since 2023, which is kind of impressive.
yeah, if he doesn't figure something out going into Oakmont, it's not going to be pretty.
Oh, that's this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or this coming weekend.
Yeah, and I think I didn't watch him play, but I heard his driver was kind of all over the place. And if you don't drive it well at Oakmont, you're going to be playing out of the thick stuff, and that's asking for trouble.
Yeah.
But not good. Who you got for U.S. Open?
I don't know. Whatever the DFS lineup builder tells me.
You don't have any personal biases?
Personal? No. I try to leave personal bias out of it just because I don't want it to affect my lineup making. But
Do you have a favorite player? Is Scotty your favorite?
No, I mean I have guys I cheer for. Like I'll cheer for Rory, Scotty, Bryson's growing on me. But I wouldn't say I have a favorite. Like obviously, if Tiger's in the field, that's my guy. I want to see him win. But outside of that, no, just a lot of guys I like. I wouldn't say any favorites. But yeah, as far as who I think will win, I don't know. Who do you think?
I'm a JT and Spieth guy, but I don't think either of them will be in contention. If I'm being honest, they've both been pretty erratic lately.
Yeah.
I think it favors Bryson. Bryson's always going to have a shot in the U.S. Open. I would say Rory, but after the last 2 weeks or last two outings, I don't know. So I say Scotty, Bryson, maybe Xander. He's been meh. Those are probably my top three. I don't think Colin. I don't think Ludwig. I don't think Rambo.
Did you see Ludwig on that par 3 yesterday?
No, I saw rough. Did he quadruple too? Or
I'm pretty sure. They had that thick rough on the left-hand side, and it took him 4 shots to get out of it. It was on like a steep slope. It was brutal. That's a brutal hole if you don't get on the green. Let's see, what else? I have a lot of supplement stuff. Like I wanted to find a different protein to take instead of like Optimum Nutrition Whey, because it has what's the sweetener? Sucralose in it.
Right.
So it's like, give me some different brands that are like more whole food based, and it gave me protein. So I've been using it more for like buying products now too. It'll give like top 3, and again, I don't know if it's perfect, but you can kind of like plug in your budget or what you're looking for too. So I found it helpful for that. I just use it for, I take alpha GPC and huperzine A, which affect like choline in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make sure like I'm not overdoing it. It gave me some helpful stuff with that, and just a reminder like what it does. So I think that's good knowledge. So figuring supplements out, especially because like we can spend a lot of money on supplements, that stuff can add up.
Right.
Also a lot of stuff like, again, like what breaks a fast and what doesn't. That's been super interesting to learn about. Like I think what does? Caffeine doesn't really. Alpha GPC does. Huperzine A does. Shilajit does. L-theanine doesn't. So just like figuring out what mechanism, and you kind of learn like what your body naturally produces and what isn't. And I feel like that can kind of help you discern what supplements are better. Like your body naturally produces creatine, and like you can get it in meats and stuff. So I feel like it's helpful in that sense. I've done it for like cold showers and like sauna, getting that figured out. Why that's helpful. BPC 157, we talked about that before. I was trying to figure out like if it has to be an injection or if you can take it orally, and like if it's approved yet and places to get it. And ultimately through that decided not to, but we'll see someday. I kind of messed up my back a little bit. Not too bad yesterday doing some trap bar, but it's feeling better today, so I don't think I'll need it.
Right.
But next time I hurt myself a little too much, I'm definitely trying that out. Stuff is fascinating.
Yeah. Did you feel it mid-rep or just after?
After. I didn't feel it at all during. I was doing more like strength speed kind of, so like 50 to 70%. Just move it as fast as possible. And last set was closer to 70-ish. And I feel like my strength is back to normal after the fast, but I feel like maybe lower body wise, not as much, or like Olympic lifts, not quite there. So it's been hard to tell what percentages to use for stuff. So still feeling that out. So maybe went a little heavy, but I felt really good the 2 sets before, and then probably should have cut it off. I think I did like 4 reps. Probably should have cut it off after the third. So I was slowing down quite a bit. That's why I miss having VBT, like working at colleges and like force plate, because then I get a little more nerdy and accurate. But it's also probably better. I've gotten better at just like feeling stuff out and listening to my body without having that stuff. But
would you set like a certain velocity that you have to get over, and if you don't get it, you're done?
Yeah, I would set like a specific range based on what I'm going for that day. So yesterday I probably would have set it at like 0.85 to 1 meters per second. Kind of lines up with that percentage. And either like once you get out of that range or like a certain drop off from the rest of your set, cut it off there. But I mean, I've also hurt myself before using VBT because I was frustrated with feeling like it's inaccurate or not getting in a specific zone. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get at this one. And then I think I was doing like split squats. And yeah, I definitely overdid it. Hurt myself a little bit, but it's double-edged sword with anything. Pros and cons. Have you used any fun gadgets or what's the word? What's the word I'm thinking of? Devices for rehab, tools.
Some people say modalities, but
Modalities. That's the word I was thinking of. Any fun modalities that facility has besides their TPI?
They have BFR is nice. They do dry needling, which is nice. They do have Shockwave. I haven't seen Shockwave yet.
What is that again?
Kind of sends like pulses. I don't know all the science behind it. It's pretty new or newer.
Similar to ARP?
Not necessarily. It's a little different. They have like blaze pods, which are kind of cool for like agility stuff. Mobile board is cool. They do Graston. It's pretty typical.
You a big blood flow restriction fan?
I haven't been exposed to it enough. I've only had it done on me once. It's definitely good for certain populations when they can't load the tissue enough, but once you can load it enough.
Yeah.
There's not really a huge point.
Get a great pump.
You do. Great pump is 10-pound dumbbells.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. They have a huge turf section, so that's always nice to use. A lot of sled work and change of direction stuff with athletes, and it's always good. I don't think anything too crazy.
Is there anything they don't have that you want to learn more about or try out that you haven't been able to yet?
Force plates.
I guess we talked about like the running gait stuff. That'd be cool.
Some like 3D gait analysis would be cool.
Have you used a force plate?
No,
Like
they have like a
in
jump
depth
map,
before?
but they don't have force plates.
Force plates are sick.
That'd be cool for like single
So
limb testing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They do have like some handheld dynamometers that are pretty cool. You can use for a lot of different manual muscle tests and stuff like that. That's pretty handy to test like symmetry side to side. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything really else on the top of my head. They have a golf simulator, but they haven't used it since I've been there.
It's absolutely tragic. Can't just let that sit there.
Should just ask to use it on my lunch break.
That'd be sick.
Get some cuts in.
You should ask.
I should.
Is it a higher end one? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't even know if it's like TrackMan or what it is, but it'd be cool.
You been able to golf at all?
Just range so far, but I kind of like it. I'm kind of a nerd for the range, to be honest.
I've definitely gone in phases where I've done that too.
Like I'm just trying to figure out my swing, and then I'll tailor it on the course when I feel good about it. But
yeah, do you video it?
What?
Do you video stuff or just feeling it out?
I more so feel it out. I should video. I'm just too lazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, just messing around with stuff that I see on TPI, it's interesting how the body moves and sequential kinetic motion and stuff like that. I don't know. It's interesting.
I'm a nerd about that stuff too. Scared to do it like we talked about it with Justin, but scared to do it like this time of year when you're playing a whole lot. Like I feel like if you're making a bunch of big changes that can hurt you more than help you. So it's more so just maybe trying out some minor stuff or different swing thought and save more of the off season stuff for making big changes.
Mm-hmm. But it's cool because like you can see how important efficiency is for like distance with the golf ball. Like they just had Joel Damon on, and the dude's like not powerful. Like it's like a 15-inch vertical and all this stuff.
Really?
And he's projected to hit at like 150 ball speed, and he hits it like 165 just because he's so efficient and how he moves and like the kinetic sequences is going down the chain like it's lower body, and then it gradually moves up and up and up all the way to the shaft, and he does all the right things. And it's just like if you, because I feel like you and I both like we're strong enough and powerful enough where if we just like kinematically get the right sequence, I feel like we can unlock like 20 yards without like gaining any strength or gaining any power. But yeah, a lot of it's just ground reaction forces and sequencing, like actually using your lower body and hips, and instead of just throwing your hands at it. I don't know. It's interesting, but
yeah,
it's a lot of trial and error and feel versus real. And yeah, I don't know. I've just been pounding drivers.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we talked with Justin too. Like Rory's really good at using his lower half and like almost like probably puts a ton of force in the ground, whereas Scotty almost like slides out of the way, but both of them still bomb it.
And you look at there's guys like Xander's tiny, and there's like
Akshay,
a bunch of these tiny guys that just pound the ball, and it's like if you get the right kinematic sequence, like you're gonna be pounding the ball if you are stronger and more powerful than these golfers. But yeah, they've golfed since they were little, so they know what what their body's like and how to get the most out of their swing. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the angle of swing two, like I feel like I've gotten better with the sequencing, but I feel like just because I'm more over top, naturally be a little higher and lose some distance. So I feel like finding like the KPIs of all the pros, and all of them have a more shallow downswing compared to their backswing. So just figuring out how to shallow out. I think that's a huge piece of it. But yeah, sequencing too. Like I feel like our initial thought, or like early on when thinking about trying to hit it harder, it's just like attacking the ball. Whereas I feel like my best hits are when I sequence better. One of my swing thought is like relaxed upper body and like leaving the club head behind and just having like a violent lower body, like more about sequencing and finding a way to get that leg and delay the club head coming through. It's just kind of goes against your instinct. And it's hard to break that for as long as we've been golfing. Like those guys probably had that instilled in them at a young age, but for us kind of figuring it out on our own and like kind of your natural instincts probably have some bad habits that are tough to break. But
it's weird, his hip range of motion, Joel Damon, his hip range of motion was crazy. So like he had 45 degrees in internal rotation, and Greg Rose was saying like that's a cheat code for the golf swing, just because you have so much access to rotation in your hips, and you can use that to compensate for a tight thoracic or tight shoulders or a lack of power, and you can just like access more range. And I was like, my freaking internal rotation's like 10 degrees. Like my IR has always sucked, so it's like something to strive for to try and improve my golf game, to increase like some hip range of motion and thoracic rotation. And yeah, it's just a way to kind of use anatomical stuff and how you're training to apply it to a golf swing. And yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. I love those videos. You should definitely look at them.
John Rahm's is fascinating too, because like learning why he swing why he does. Like I think he has different leg length differences,
Yeah, and
and like a hip
foot.
impingement.
Yeah,
it's like he can't turn as much, but
short
between
and quick.
like bowing his wrist and how quick he is with his hips, he can still just absolutely nuke it. Or like Tony Finau, like obviously bigger limbs, but he has such a short backswing, but still just nukes it. So I think that's what I've learned more of too. Like I thought power comes from like taking it as far back as possible and getting as much like wrist hinge as possible, but there's some guys who have pretty short takeaways who can just nuke it. So it's just getting that timing right. But I've used ChatGPT a bit for golf, but I might need to, because you can like upload videos and stuff too. So
oh really?
Might need to, maybe more an off-season thing, upload some videos or get some drills from there and see what happens. But
how you been playing?
Decent, not great. I don't know. I just like random miss hits, which I've kind of always dealt with, but like random chunk or just like thin it or whatever. It just gets annoying. Like I'll be playing well and then just have one or two shots that just ruin the round. So just find a way to get rid of those, but been fine. Nothing special. Take a little break here for the old back and recalibrate and get back after it. Maybe just watch a lot of golf and seem to play better after that.
Right.
So take some stuff from the pros. Not Rory this week at least.
No, but Scotty on.
Yeah, put Scotty on. Watch these Canadians trying to make their country proud.
Yeah.
Watch some of them.
Bunch of nobodies at the top.
Yeah. Crazy. Anything else? Any other thoughts with AI, chat?
No, I mean, I'm excited to see where it continues to go. A little scared to see where it goes too, but
Do you think it's going to take over the world at some point?
It could take over my mind too. I don't know. I could be AI generated at some point, but I don't know. It'll be interesting as far as what we see tech go into, because it could be like a exponential curve here coming up. But
it really could. Like 5 years from now, like doesn't seem like a long time, but things could be drastically different for better or worse. But you put it in the span of like 50 years,
who knows?
Bananas to think about. Like think about 50 years ago. Today will be 1975. Like no internet, no Wi-Fi. Like
Crazy.
Just nuts. So yeah, gotta be smart with that kind of stuff. But I also think it's crazy to not use it at this point. Like it's so helpful in so many areas. Just finding that balance, as with anything, not becoming over reliant on anything, and double checking your sources. And again, I think prompting, learning how to prompt is the biggest thing. I think it just gets better with time, but the more detail you can give, and like as it builds its memory and knows more about you, I guess it can more tailor to what you're looking for. So yeah, I think it's a tool to just make your life better and easier. And I mean, we've given some practical stuff, nutrition, physical health, spiritual health, but making your work easier. So there's been so many times like Dad or Peyton will ask me something. I was like, "Did you ask ChatGPT? Like, it's gonna know better than me." So, yeah, even something like Dad figuring out something to do post retirement. Like, I feel like that's been helpful for him. Just like, he's like giving it like what he's good at, what he likes, and
Right.
where he's currently at, and it gives him some ideas of some different stuff. So, again, it's just cool to someplace to put your thoughts and be like, either affirm it or like maybe, but here's some other ideas of what you can do. So yeah, I think it's good for us to I mean, not let our thoughts sit there, but do something with them. Write them down, journal, or use the old chat and get some feedback on it. So it's a valuable tool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to have it. Using it more and more every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's good stuff.
Anything else?
All set.
Let's get out of here. Deuces. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, review, or tell a friend to check us out. Be sure to follow us at SHRP_training for more content to help you be your best self. Go be great today.